Hello everybody, Thy Root here, and today we're going to be looking at the 0.25 release of Kerbal Space Program. It was just released today, and so everybody's excited that the HypeTrain has finally arrived. I think we'll just jump in right now, but everybody knew, I think, once the HypeTrain logo got posted on the dev blog that it was coming today. And so I'm going to start out with a sandbox deal. We'll just call this KSP 0.25 sandbox. Won't bother necessarily with a flag, but you can see we now have difficulty options here that allow us to deal with certain things. I'm going to do normal, but there are advanced options that you can mess with whenever you set up your game. And this is actually very good, because the way you had to do a lot of this in the previous version was through the debug menu. And so it's nice to see that. We will configure TAC Live support. I just sort of let Steam update this on its own. But let's look at something that I'm very excited to see, because space planes have not gotten a lot of love lately, and I think it's important that they do get some amount of attention. The squad finally listened and made space planes, I guess, a more integral feature. We have new cockpits here. One of the things that we have are these improved Mark I cockpits that look a little bit less, I guess, hobbled together. Not sure if the Mark II has an IVA mode for it yet. Why don't we see that eventually? But before we do, I'm going to look at some of the new plane parts here. So we have the Mark II cockpit here, as well as a drone core, which is really quite nice. Also, an inline cockpit that has an IVA mode. And one of the things about this that makes it really awesome is just the fact that, we didn't have very many good Mark II parts. And in the next release, Mark III parts are coming, from what I understand. We have entirely new wing surfaces here, if we like. And I reckon we might even have a nose cone for this. If not, we certainly have an adapter. And so I'm just going to grab one of those real quick. And we'll just go ahead and put it down. It's somewhere around here, I'm sure, if I can find it. Incidentally, at the time of writing, or at the time of recording rather, most of these are, for the most part, they are just fine for, in terms of the mods. Ferrum Aerospace is... oh, it looks like a new part, or it's been updated. Yeah, it looks like it's been updated, the stack separator. I think they made it a little bit easier to distinguish. Anyway, where was I? Most of these new parts here, if I can find them. I've just jumped in, so this is as new to me as it is to you. But most of these guys here, the fuselage pieces at least have lift properties, which is nice. Oh, and for the mods, the only ones I really ran into trouble with so far were Ferrum, in addition to Deadly Reentry, and oh, there we go. And also, as it turns out, what's that other one? We also have the AAA toolbar, which is probably going to become deprecated pretty soon anyway. And of course, we also have the thingamajigger, I say deadly reentry already, fire spitter as well. However, it looks like I still have at least one of these. So I'm kind of trying to think what I'm going to put on here. I'm going to put the shot cone intake on here. It looks like Ferrum may still work, despite the fact that this is not, you know, compatible as such. And then these guys are now, these reaction wheels are now 0.65 meter parts as well, which is really nifty. We just go here to the structural. There are other things as well. We have inline docking adapters and bicouplers, and what is that anyhow? Must have been under utility, I bet. Yeah, it was. So we have a crew cabin, which means we can do a airliner of sorts. Two sizes of cargo bay. And then in addition to that, we also have other things as well. Like, I'm not going to make this an SSTO. A lot of people want to, but... or they like doing it, rather, but we have a new inline docking port as well, which, if I can find it, will be somewhere around here. So a lot of possibilities for stock, and it really does make this new, oh, there we go, this new thing worth it. So what I'm going to do here, I think, is I'm going to take the structural thing here, or maybe it was fuel. Yeah, these are fuel parts, because these all have fuel in them now, which is really cool. Center of lift is way on up there. And I wonder if we can support two engines here. Make this thing really streamlined. Possibly not. But a nice thing is that we can take a decoupler like this. If I can find the decouplers, maybe we can get like this, TT38K decoupler. And if we are careful, we can set up some kind of ordnance here, which I'm definitely going to try. In fact, I'll get that that stack separator here, if I can find it. I think they seem to have changed a lot of textures in this release. And if we have the stack separator, and what we can essentially do is make ourselves a probe of some kind, right? Except, maybe not a probe. Maybe instead, something along the lines of this instead, to where we will have, these guys here, if I can find it. There's a little hard point that we might be able to use as a fin. And if Ferrum works with us, no guarantee that it will, but we can go in here and strut this guy up. And hopefully it won't move. You might say there's no point to this because, you know, this thing's upside down, but as it turns out, we can actually flip this thing right side up. And now if we look at our center of mass here, and we'll just take this all out, we can now adjust this so that the wings are behind us. Speaking of which, we've got plenty of new wings now. One of them that's going to be rather nice is we have a swept wing. We'll just put that way on behind here. See if we can make that look real cool. Functional would be nice too, but I'll take cool. And we have new control surfaces that they've termed elevons. That'll be really nice here. So we got ourselves a little tailplane going. We'll set that for y'all only. Get our center of lift going as well. And maybe get... You know, I'm a little bit worried we might tail strike with this thing. Fortunately for us, however, that may not be so big of an issue, because we now have two types of structural wings here. You might remember that with the other wings, we had something that went kind of like this, and it drove people crazy whenever they were trying to build planes, because you just couldn't get it oriented right. But now, as it turns out, we now have these guys right here, to where now we can just go on through. We'll add some elevons of some kind, and I will... Yeah, we're good there. We've got plenty of control. We'll just take elevon number 1 here. We will have it contribute to lift. If I can get it going the right direction, that is. And we'll just set it down. Even though it's wanting to do something really weird that I don't quite approve of. It may actually have... Yeah, it's done something weird like that. But let's see if we can find the guys that increase the width. There we go. Those are the big ones, maybe. And so, lots of different shapes here, and you can go on through and set these guys to do whatever you want, almost. So you want a specialized, deal for your specialized control surfaces here for your pitch. You know, these guys we can turn off of not pitch, but roll, because we want to get the most leverage we can out of this. And then what we'll do is we will set down some landing gear. If I can find that. I'm going to do my best only to do stock parts here, because it's... really, that's what everybody's interested in, I reckon, is stock parts. Those things... I guess they're in line. I'm trying to make sure we don't have any tow. Because it does seem to have a nasty habit of that. I mean, that looks okay. So yeah, the part snap could probably use a little bit of work. It seems like they want to snap to weird places here. But I will turn off the part snap here and maybe turn this around. See how high we can get with this. Wonder what VAR thinks, if it thinks anything. Sweet angle of attack. Center of lift is higher than the center of drag, it looks like. And stability derivatives. Can we simulate that? Pitch control is not so great. But I'm going to assume that we can take care of that here. One thing I want to do as well is I want to set up an action group for our bomb bay. If we can select that. Toggle our bomb bay doors. And then finally, let's just get an idea of how much delta V we have. That won't get us too terribly far, but it is kind of heavy. But I think I like that. And you know what, if we're not happy with air intakes, it turns out that those aren't the only ones. I mean, we have that nose-mounted one, but we actually have improved air takes here that we can use as well. That we can, you know, we can basically increase the amount of air. So this is going to be a high-altitude plane. It's very nice, if I do say so myself. Thrust to weight ratio is insane. So there we go. Let's launch this guy. If it doesn't wig out. And there we go. Incidentally, we happen to, if we go into IVA view, we actually have a really nice cockpit, even though it is very pixelated. I don't know if it's non-functional or what, or if it disagrees with my video card. I need to look into that. But we will turn this off. And I'm thinking we have to be really careful with this. Oh, I put the clampatron on there. That might be interesting. Yeah, we'll just go full throttle. Wait for these guys to reach their maximum potential here. Oh no! know, I didn't even really think about that. I do have food here. We have like 2 hours to do something with this, but... There we go. Let's see. It did say that pitch control was not going to be good with this, so I'm not really surprised that we are having trouble lifting. However, if we do this, we have really awesome roll control. I'll just bring up the nose gear, or the gear in general. So really fast flying. And VAR seems to be okay with it so far. Now, of course, my piloting skills are not the best. And so, this is not going to really end well for me. And it's hard to tell if these rudders are working as intended. Maybe if I throttle down, I will get a little bit more control. Because I may be working past my side slip angle. I was hoping that the thrust vectoring would help on those engines, but that appears to not be the case. However, you'll notice that we no longer have to worry about our fuel flow as much, which is actually really quite nice. I can't say that I disagree with that ability. Let's see, can we... Visibility does leave a bit to be desired here. But again, I think maybe part of it is my video card and the fact that I'm in this strange cockpit. So of course we'll open this guy up now. And it's messing with us very slightly. But we will release the bombs. Now I wonder what just blew there. It was not the world's best bomb bay. And VAR is punishing me now. However, that part is really nice. I mean, just the fact that we have parts to play with. It's just very good. My plane could use a lot of work, because it's been a while since I've messed around with planes. I've never messed around with them in VAR before. But let's, you know, let's not think about my ability to mess with planes, because, you know, I've still got to learn a few things, for sure. It is a very cool looking plane, but it's, at least to my way of thinking, but there are other features that we can think about here. So, for instance, I'll just leave the, Spaceplane hangar real quick. And I can go through, and I can demonstrate what is potentially one of the most lauded features of this release. Now, as to whether or not I will kill Kerbals, I think I will answer that. What's up with my textures? They are looking kinda weird. But at any rate, yes, we will kill Kerbals. We will, in fact, ensure that they have died. And I will ensure this by using a very powerful engine to essentially target one of these buildings. I think the texture scaling is meant, in part, to make sure that we don't, that the game is still playable, which is a really interesting option. I believe if we go north, it's not north, it's west that we want to go. We can just simply do this and hope that we hit our mark. Oh, we missed. Now, the administration, or that's the astronaut complex, is hosed, and if we go back to our spaceplane hangar here, or our space center, then you will notice that this change is actually semi-permanent. With regard to this, we now have a smoldering pile here. And it's going to cost us, if we were in career mode, 125,000, which is rather nice. That part is definitely a nifty feature that means that you have to watch where you're landing. So, yeah, it's really quite a nifty little feature here, and I just want to go in here while I can. I'm going to go in here real quick and grab this Mark II hangar that I'm fairly sure they have not updated the cockpit for, but you never really know. It's something that spaceplane enthusiasts have been asking for. But given the attention to space planes, you never know. So, is there a cockpit? Nope. We'll just recover that. So there we go. That's pretty much it for that. What about career mode, though? Right, let me just double check my settings, see if I can... Texture quality, full resolution. That is not full resolution. there. I need to look into that. Maybe it's a video card issue. It's hard to tell. And now it is in windowed mode. I don't want to see what OBS is doing to that, or to make it happen, because, yeah, I will be right back. Okay, we are back, and now what I am going to do is I'm going to start ourselves another game, this time in career mode, but with some interesting things here. Now you can start with a ton of science if you want to. There are things like allowing stock vessels and quick loading and things like that, or you make it easy to where you get science rewards, or you can make it as difficult as you want. I could in fact go down here and make a custom game to where we get no reputation, but we sure do get science quickly, and penalties are high, and reputation penalties are high as well. Everything else, let's say that reputation is not easy to get. This is a whole lot better than using the debug menu. Hard will actually go through and cap everything at 60%. Penalties for fines and reputation is twice as much. And then we go back to our custom thing here. You know, it's, just leave that there at 100%. I mean, you get the idea, though. You can play whatever kind of game you want to now. One that might punish you severely for failure. In fact, this is sort of required with something like realism overhaul, because you don't make much in the way of, you don't really make much in the way of stuff, shall we say. So now, I'm gonna call this, I don't know, 0.25 career. And we will go with this custom game and see if it works out for us. And we are dangerously low here. No respawn, no anything, because I didn't reset it. We need to go here, launch a new vessel, set altitude record, escape the atmosphere, and I'm going to get orbit Kerbin while we can. I'm not going to play through an entire game, but let's just get an idea of what we can do here. Now, of course, we have a number of things here that we can do. We have parachutes, which are nice. And we even have these guys right here, which should be nice for us. Let's do this, because while the SRB is fairly useful in that regard, let's see, do we have any food? So no food is included in this. This is going to make this really interesting. But I think we can maybe get to orbit this way. And so let's give that a shot. Let's go for a suborbital trajectory and see if we can actually get into orbit thrust to weight ratio is insanely high. Of course, there is a staging error there. Oh well. That is not going to be very good for us at all. But we got 1,000 science this way. Or 1,000% of our science, so that kicked us up to lots and lots of money, so that we can go in here now and do a very quick sort of game if we want. One where we really have to struggle for reputation, but they're just handing us the cash. Another thing, it turns out, is that I have to go through, in the way I set this game up, and now manually buy some of my parts. So if I want this guy right here, the altimetry sensor maybe, or the other thing, maybe like batteries, or if I want tail fins or decouplers, I have to go through and manually purchase all of this stuff. And so this can make a game like this much, much more difficult. But on the flip side, you do end up being a little bit more agile here. Some of these I think you just get to own automatically, which is really nice. I definitely want these parachutes here, just for demonstration purposes. And now I have a limited set of parts I can work with. And so it's not just about grinding science anymore. Now, in this science-heavy game that we have created, I'm actually going to leave this guy real quick. Maybe start anew. But in this science-heavy game, in this fund-heavy game, I might have decided that I really want reputation so I can get good contracts. And so here we have, it looks like a free reduction here. So, or not free, but we get 0.98% funds to launch, but up to 50% of the vessel. That goes up to, when we're committed entirely, it looks like this goes up a fair deal. So it's looking like, in some cases, being absolutely committed is a great idea. In this case, we would have to, we can take these active strategies, and it looks like we can have up to 5 at one time. But we can go through and we can say 5% of science gains, up to 100%. Now we do want science, but we're making enough of it to where we get 1.25. We just don't have the science commitment here. So these guys are, unfortunately, required. In our case, we need lots of different things here. So, what we can do now, knowing that our recovery cost is plus 15%, that means that we have a little bit of leeway here. The way we do this. And what we will do then is we will go through. This guy is locked, it seems, but we can spend the money and purchase it from the screen here. Let's just build us a small rocket here that we don't really need too much here. It shows us how much our recovery costs are going to be. And we can build something kinda crazy. It looks like we still do not have in-cockpit things here, but we can go through, grab this guy, and maybe try to get into orbit. I will take the thrust gimbaling as well to get up here. I will inquire on the forums, maybe if I can't figure it out, what's up with the textures. But that should be more than enough to get us into orbit. And what we can do there, I didn't put any science on this like I should have. But we can now go through. Our thrust to weight ratio is really... Oh, we're overperforming quite a bit. And I will go through and attempt to get up into orbit. Do we have the crew? Yeah, we already have it from here. And because Ferrum's still installed, I'm just going to try to make a quick orbit real quick. Not exactly sure what is up with the textures, but that, as it turns out, does not matter as much to me. I mean, it will eventually have a very, very steep thing going on here. And maybe fine control will be helpful. But yeah, I mean, I guess it's an okay sort of approach. It's not the best. I guess I could have put fins on there, but because we don't have fins, I guess I will correct sometime later. We are descending quite a deal more rapidly than I would like as well. I'm going to come back here and attempt to lower my inclination. So this is certainly going to be an interesting little deal here, because we have all the money in the world and all the science in the world, but no reputation, so we can't get contracts. In principle, if you want it to be really hard, what can be done, and what you may wish to do eventually, is to really set everything low. It might even make the game unplayable at that point. Although I haven't really tried. But we will see. I mean, we're in the stratosphere now at least, so we're in almost near space. That'll be good for us. I am flying this, as it would turn out, quite aggressively. Probably not the best thing to do while I'm in the atmosphere. I mean, it's kind of sort of worth it. Let's grab some science while we're up here. That's 35 science from that one crew report. In orbit, it should be okay. I will just get us as much thrust away as we can. And we're actually not doing bad on the whole thrust to weight ratio deal. Our inclination is kind of worrying. But I think we can get around that. And of course, we could utilize this now to implement new policies about science that will get us going about where we'd like to. And just keep that apoapsis down. At this point to where we want to level everything off. So that is about, I want to say it's about orbit. This was actually way overdone. We're still very much in the atmosphere. But I will get maybe 100 or so out of this. We're at least in some kind of orbit, it would seem. It's not a very good one. I think we're not accelerating anymore, so if I am lucky... Oh no! Quick! Back in the spacecraft. This is incidentally one of the stupidest things that you can do. But we're in orbit now. And you know what? That's good enough for me. We will just get on through here and get ourselves set up so that we're circular. I think maybe something kind of like this would be good. And that's another thing that's worth showing now, is that when we have a maneuver node, we actually have a fairly large number of options. We have this improved Nav-ball, so that blue arrow points to our maneuver node, and there of course is our radial node as well. So if we want to burn radial in, we can. I am going to go ahead and go here. Don't show that again. It looks like my settings got deleted because I'm still in atmosphere and I'm creating drag. which means that I will want to go here and possibly change this to be less of a deal. But yeah, let's get out of the atmosphere real quick. It will take a little bit of time because of our approach. Although we are gaining a bit of altitude as well because of Ferrum. And we're about ready here. We will no longer have to worry about the atmosphere keeping us down, because the atmosphere magically disappears here. So apoapsis is 99. We can do a little bit better here, I think. 100 versus that's a very tight orbit. Other things we can do if we want to change our inclination is we can get to the point to where, if we just go here and target the moon real quick, because we have plenty of delta V, but let us target that moon. We can now sort of work out where the descending node is, or the ascending node rather. And how we do on that? We're okay, that's good enough. I'm going to go ahead and get into orbit, or not into orbit, but into our dill here. Get to our descending node. But I'm not going to use a maneuver node here. The reason for that, electric charge is running out, because I didn't put any batteries on it. Electric charge depleted. Okay, quit interrupting me. I'm quite willing to wait. So we have no electric charge here. However, can... oh wait, that's the ascending node. Uh-oh. Well, that's kind of an issue, isn't it? But yeah, we can... I'm gonna turn off SAS. And get that down. Maybe try to get ourselves a little return trajectory going. The point being, at any rate, is that we can, in fact, do some things now without the assistance of the nav, or not the nav-ball, but the maneuver nodes. So let's just kill our energy here. Periapsis is a little bit high, so it's going to be rough. Probably a lot rougher of an entry than it needs to be. But we're high up, so we'll take the data. There's no SAS whatsoever. We will get ourselves an EVA report. And we will attempt to maybe board the craft while we still can. Get ourselves a crew report going for 50 science. and because this thing is aerodynamically stable, hope that it will flip itself into the proper orientation, although that does not seem likely. Certainly Jebediah is now at the mercy of physics. You might ask, when is that ever not the case? To which I will say, good point. But we should even out here in a little bit. I'm going to turn off SAS because there's no real point to having it on. Jeb is just going to have to be sick. And maybe when we hit the atmosphere, as hard as we are about to do, maybe we will right ourselves. Although it's looking to be very unlikely at this point. This guy is certainly... I don't know what I quite lost there. I lost something. I lost, I guess that is the flight computer. But yeah, you can make this game now as difficult or as easy as you want to. You can come up with really interesting combinations of things, assuming that Jeb does not die. Certainly, this is worth a look. I'm going to try and do one more pause so you can see this one in action real quick whilst we wait for this thing to go here. In fact, I want to maybe see if we cancel, maybe not if we cancel this launch, because I think we're a little bit far out to cancel it, or I don't think we can cancel it. In fact, we can't even revert. But maybe if I go through and actually go back to the Space Center instead. In fact, you can do that anytime you are not moving, like you're not under acceleration. We actually got a fairly big boost to our reputation there, so we're doing better than we did. Looks like I'm a little bit too far out for that. I'm just going to go back to the Space Center and make that recovery. But let us recover that. We now have 803 science that we can go back and we can say, you know what, we are making way too much science. That's not usually something anybody would say, but we can now go in and say, let's get reputation, about 50% science for that. We can even go as far as 800, and that'll give us 1.2 reputation. For every science point that we get, which might help us, there's additionally, we can take funds for science. But we need reputation here for that. And it looks like in order to do this, you really have to grind at reputation for a while. But I think other than that, I guess I will sort of show one last feature before I go, and that is that if we take this pod out here, if it's landed out here on the KSC, like so. And we leave Jubb in this precarious situation here. Although he has life support now, I reckon. Maybe not. He's about to be out here in a bit. But what you can essentially do now is we can turn around over here. And we can either return to the vessel or completely recover it. And for some reason, he's considered to have splashed down. Maybe these are from other missions. Flying at Mach 10, below 30 meters. It's really interesting here. But yeah, that's basically it for now. I'm gonna try and get these mods going so that I can figure out more or less what I can do for the main series, and I suppose I will see you then.